Love the mouth-watering taste of delicious, perfectly cooked bacon?
Bacon! Bacon! Where's the bacon? I smell bacon! 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 Gotta be bacon! Only one thing smells like bacon! That's bacon! 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 There!
Welcome to the What's Sizzling podcast with Big Bacon.
Hey, look at all that meat.
And now your host, Big Bacon, Brad Hollister.
It's bacon!
Welcome to episode 2 of What's Sizzling with Big Bacon. And I am your host, Big Bacon, or El Tocino Grande if you're Espanol. And man, last week we got a really good response to our interview with Flip Gordon. We got to find out a lot about Flip, and it looks like the Flip and Bacon segment's going to happen. But before we get to all that, before we get to my interview, I want to explain to you who is about to be on this pod. He is the man who had a hand in making me who I am today, and that is Thomas Santell, a.k.a. Antonio the Promise Thomas, a.k.a. the Ovaltine Dream. D-R-E-A-M. But seriously, Tom and I had a great time recording this conversation. We talked about a lot. We talked about the National Basketball Association, who him and I are both huge fans of. We talked about professional wrestling, and we talked about, which at the time of this interview, it's his upcoming match, but at the time of the release, it's going to be his last match. It's his match against Brian Alvarez and Filthy Tom Lawler at American Rana for Beyond Wrestling. And his partner, none other than Nick Gage. And together, they make up Nerder Death Kill. And I'm pretty sure in a million years, no one thought the nerd, the Ovaltine Dream, Thomas Santell would be teaming with Nick Gage. But I'm not going to lie, together, those guys are great. The fans at Beyond Wrestling have taken to both of them right away. And I think this tag team is going to make a lot of noise in Beyond Wrestling and make a lot of noise outside of Beyond Wrestling as well. Not only do we jump into all these topics, we also are going to talk about his secret talent. We're going to talk about something that he's very, very good at that not a lot of people know, and we're going to make him do it. Also, we have some great stories about his time in WWE, which that's another thing about Tom. He's not going to brag about all the great things or cool things he's done in his career, but you got to kind of pry it out of him and you got to kind of lead him to it. And luckily, we got some great stories for this week. So I can't wait to hear this interview myself because, like I said, I learned a lot about a guy I've known for almost 11 years at this point, and I've seen almost every day for about 7 of those years. So let's throw it to my past self and Thomas Santell. Take it away, past Bacon.
The bacon, the bacon, the bacon,
Welcome to episode 2 of the What's Sizzling podcast with Big Bacon. Today, my guest is a former WWE superstar who is actually going through a crazy career resurgence right now. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome at Beyond every single show he robs, one half of WWE's The Heartthrobs. He makes the ladies gleam because he's the Ovaltine Dream, the one and only Thomas Santell. Tom, what's sizzling, baby?
What's up? Oh, I'm Thomas Santell. I don't know if I'm Antonio Thomas or Promise or.
You're a little bit of everything.
Right now it's Thomas Santell, but to 12-year-old Big Bacon, Little Bacon, it's Antonio, Heartthrob Antonio.
Oh, dude, I said it last week when I was talking with Flip Gordon. I was like, I'm finally going to convince him that I was truly a fan of his growing up. I'm like, I don't think you believe it to this day.
No, I believe you.
Okay, finally believe it. Because me and my little cousin Dario, every time we see each other at my memes, we would hook up with that heartthrob handshake.
It was a good handshake. It was a great dance. It was I don't know.
It was a great handshake.
Wrong place, wrong time. So, you know.
Oh, dude, you guys were the Jersey Shore before the Jersey Shore.
Yeah, I know, but oh well. But yeah, now it's now I'm a nerd. So,
and it is insane. It sounds ridiculous, but you have to be at a Beyond Wrestling show to realize just like how insanely over you are with that crowd. It is unbelievable.
It's weird because like we did the Faneuil Hall show. I don't know if I told you before, but well, we were probably talking after the show. Like I was like, oh man, this is going to be a different crowd than Worcester. They're not going to know me. And like when you went out, you were the match before me. Like they started chanting bacon, and that was we had worked together the month before. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, okay, if they know him, they'll probably know me. And then yeah, they knew, you know.
Faneuil Hall was just as ridiculous as Worcester is every week.
Well, I'm you know, I don't know when this is going to air, but whether we're doing this Friday before American Rana, so Foxwoods 1,000 people or probably more. I'm looking forward to seeing what the reaction will be there. So and to a bigger audience. So
and dude, I'll definitely be watching that live because that is going to be bananas. Well, now, you brought up American Rana real quick, and you got an interesting match going into American Rana.
Well, yeah. I got the thing myself, you know, it has gotten over and gotten a good reaction. But now with Nick Gage, it's like a perfect odd couple dynamic. And like he swears, I don't. We're like complete opposites, but it works. Yeah, so now it's like nerd, death, kill. And it's great, or murder, death, Ovaltine. But I think the nerd, death, kill is the more popular one.
Yeah, I see Nerder, death, kill, which I like that one a lot. I like that one a lot.
NDK, yeah.
NDK all day, baby. But I mean, you look at that team, and you know it's like certain movies or whatever they call them tropes because they get done a lot. And I am a sucker for odd couples. Like I always loved the odd couple tag teams. I thought Kane and Daniel Bryan were great. Growing up, I like Kane and X-Pac. I always just loved that odd couple pairing. And when I first heard that was gonna be the thing going into American Rana, I was just like, I'm all in on this. Like this is incredible. And yeah, you guys are going against Brian Alvarez and Filthy Tom Lawler. Now, two friends of mine. There's a lot of connections there. And when you were talking about when you first started, maybe this could be a possibility, I was just all for it. Because like I said, I didn't even know that Brian Alvarez steps in the ring anymore. I had no idea. So just seeing that, I was like, oh, that's going to be awesome. And then Filthy Tom Lawler, former MLW heavyweight champion, obviously his mixed martial arts credentials speak for themselves. I'm like, this is going to be a damn barn burner of a match. You guys have a chance to steal the show at American Rana.
Well, I mean, it's a hell of a card, man. It is. It's a loaded card. I mean, you got everything. So it's going to be hard to, every match at Beyond in general goes out there to steal the show, and that's good. That's the way it should be. Make people remember you. So we're gonna have, it'll be fun. And I don't know if it's gonna be so much fun for Brian, but whether it's already happened or not, hopefully, we'll leave you with some things to remember and some memories. So, and either Brian right now is alive or he's no longer with us.
We will find out. So you talked about memories, and that's funny because I wanted to bring this up. Like I actually wrote notes. Like you know me very well. I'm not a note guy, but I wrote some notes. And one thing that I've always known about you, you have the most insane memory with things. Like the other day, I was telling you how I woke up to a random Raw on the WWE Network. I was like, oh yeah, it was like a 6-man tag, and it was you, Romeo, and Victoria versus Stacy Keibler, Hurricane, and Rosie. Yeah. And you told me like the city, you had a story for the day. Now, how much I talked about this with Flip too. How much do you think having that in like crazy good memory helps with pro wrestling?
Well, I'll take advantage of that memory while I still have it. But
dude, it was great.
No, I don't know. People say, oh, I've taken too many headshots or stuff like that. I had that one, not to get in like concussions or anything like that, but I'm like the most neurotic, nervous person when it comes to getting hit in like the jaw.
No way.
Anywhere. Yeah, no, seriously. Like I hear people I've never been knocked out. I saw 2 Rich Basses one time when I hit my head on the back with the Alabama Slam, and that freaked the fuck out of me. I took like 2 months off, 3 months off, and like I hear people go through that all the time. So to just preface it, like people think I have a head like an eggshell. Actually, no, I can take a punch. I got for a white guy, I got a pretty strong jaw, and I'm just super like don't hit me, in the fucking. You get one brain, you know what I mean? So yeah. I'm glad, but yeah, the memory thing. I don't know how I guess I always did. I guess it's probably from sports statistics and just collecting baseball cards my whole life, being enamored with like fantasy sports and just sports statistics and numbers and stuff. Not a math guy. Math is not my thing, but just if it's related to sports.
Sports stats. Oh, dude, I'm the same way.
Yeah. I'll remember.
Don't tell me to find X, but I could tell you someone's batting average from 1983.
Yeah, absolutely. So, does it help me in wrestling? I don't know. I always used to be like, oh man, I'm going to forget something out there. I would be like, oh my God, there's no way I'm going to remember all this stuff in a match or whatnot.
Oh, dude, not only do you remember stuff, you also remember like to tell people how to sell certain things and where to go certain ways. Like I remember the last time we stepped in the Beyond ring, we haven't wrestled in so long at that point. And I personally feel I got so much better since the last time we wrestled. I'm like, so I'm going to be riding this ship. And there's just certain parts where you're just like coaching me through things. And I'm like, God damn, he's so good. I'm like this. I'm like, oh, dude.
No. Come on. No, I wasn't coaching you through anything. I was just like, it
was a great way.
Yeah. No, I don't know. You know what? It is weird. I, remembering Muay Thai combos, because I do a lot of, the week before you had come to my MMA gym, yeah, and we had, worked out and whatnot. But I, holding Muay Thai pads, which is a form of kickboxing, and hitting 3-4 times a week, and also holding for boxing, doing mitts for boxing, and sometimes I coach adult boxing. All the combos are like pieces; they're like puzzle pieces, and it's like footsteps. They all kind of fit together once you kind of get it down, and so it's like now I'll remember spots. You come up with an elaborate spot. Like we had an exchange in there, yeah. And it's just like one thing leads to another, and you know the end point of each moment in a match. I don't know. You just kind of put things together like that. So it's more so by feel and just reaction and you're just natural. It's kind of like second nature where you just kind of body, just your mind gets in touch with your body and you kind of know where you're
in that flow state of you just know where to go with everything.
Yeah, it's like,
Well, you say, and it's funny because you said how like, the combos, you got to remember stuff and you relate it to spots. And I say that all the time. Like wrestling is like everything, but nothing is like wrestling. Like I feel like in life, there's so many aspects of pro wrestling, right? But in wrestling, you don't get those aspects of life. So we're talking on the podcast right now. Last year during the NBA draft time, I was on your podcast.
Yeah.
And we reviewed the NBA draft, and I went all in on Luka Doncic. And gosh darn it, was I right. Now, this year's draft and this year's free agency, I know you're a big basketball guy. What in the world is going on with the NBA?
Well, I mean, where do we begin?
Where do we begin?
Luka, like apparently that's his floor this year. That's kind of scary because people say he's out of shape and he needs to come into camp in shape and whatnot. And if that's his out of shape and if that's his floor, like especially the second half of the season, the guy could have been third team All NBA arguably, but he's so fun to watch and you were dead on. And I know Trae Young had a great year. I
know, and I was down on Trae Young, but he did turn it. Like in the beginning, I looked really right about that.
Right,
but throughout the year, he definitely turned it on.
But Atlanta, like you got to think Atlanta. They get DeAndre Hunter with the pick they got this year from Dallas, and then they got Trae Young. I don't know. Right now, it looks
it looks like both teams won.
Yeah, I get, but you still got to think Atlanta would like Luka Doncic. Like Bill Simmons says it all the time. Is this a guy that can be the best player on a championship team? And with Luka, yes, he can be. So
he wants that last shot too.
Yeah. Just people listening, just go look up his highlights. There was one game against Portland last year where he just It was insane. But
or the Houston game where he scored like 11 points in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But yeah, this year the NBA. Who do you think's a favorite going into this year? Because the past 3 years it's been Warriors, Warriors, Warriors. Now it feels like it's a wide open field. Who would you pick?
Oh, it's good. I like it because now it's instead of trios, instead of loading up like Miami did or Golden State.
Oh, come on. We started that. I'm not going to lie. We started that.
What, the Celtics?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, 2008. Yep.
Dude, I say that all the time. Like every Boston fan is like Miami. I'm like, honestly, that's kind of our fault.
Actually, no. It was started with the Celtics back in, you go back to the 80s or go back further than that. It was always duos. It was like Magic and Kareem. But then the Celtics got Bird, Parrish, and McHale, the big three. Then it got to Jordan and Pippen, and then it was Jordan, Pippen, kind of Horace Grant. But then the second turnaround in 96 to 98, Jordan, Pippen, Rodman.
Yes.
Oh, and then what'd you have after? It was always Kobe, Shaq, Nash, Stoudemire, Jason Kidd, Kenyon Martin in the dark days of the East.
We had that one really solid year of Tracy and Yao, which I like. That was like my first year watching basketball.
Yeah, Stockton and Malone, but now it's gone back to that, and it's so wide open. It's like the NFL where I was talking to Cheeseburger at the show Wednesday because he's a big basketball guy, and we're saying how the West is so loaded. Like even the teams that, yes, like Sacramento, I think they're like a young Golden State with Hield, with Marvin Bagley, and with De'Aaron Fox. And
I love De'Aaron Fox's game.
Oh my God, absolutely. I project him to be. It's going to be hard, but I think he's going to make third team all NBA this year.
At point.
Yeah, point guard. I know it's tough. It's loaded. There's so much parity, and I like it that everything evolves. It's like wrestling. What goes around comes around, and now we're kind of in that NFL territory where you're not going to go from last place to first place, but you're gonna a Sacramento could take slip in with a 7 seed in the West, and then the top 6 positions in the Western Conference. I mean, any one of those teams could come out of there. You got both LA teams, you got Golden State, you got Utah, you got Houston.
Utah. Okay, so I've been saying this all year, or not all year, all off season. I got to go to the Twin River Casino and bet my house on Utah because I love what they did this off season.
It seems like everybody's saying that, like all these like hipster millennial fucking quote unquote writers, podcast guys. Oh, I love Utah. I love you. I don't know. It's like Mike Conley's great. They got Bogdanovich.
Him and Ingles together.
Yeah,
they got Jeff Green for super, super cheap, I believe.
Yeah, I can't remember who else they got. They lost Derek Favors. He went to New Orleans.
Yeah.
But even New Orleans. Like, so that's
a fun team.
New Orleans, that's a fun team.
That might be my 2K team next year.
Yeah, New Orleans, you got Sacramento, you have Dallas, which will be certainly fun when KP comes back healthy. Even like Oklahoma City will even be exciting to see what Shai Gilgeous-Alexander does when he's given the ball in his hands. And even like right now, if they go into the season with Chris Paul, they got Gallinari, Steven Adams, Gilgeous-Alexander.
It's not a bad team.
That's an 8th seed. That's not a bad team. So, I think, obviously the West is wide open. I think in the East, Philly's they have the best starting 5, but Joel Embiid is a head case. He's nuts. Ben Simmons, you don't know if he's the best.
I don't think Embiid's as much as a head case as he's just out of shape. Like I know they have the minute restriction on him and the game restriction on him, but he'll be playing 28 minutes a game, and in the fourth quarter, he got hands on his knees, hands on his head. Like, I think he just got to get in better shape.
Oh, he's gonna get in better shape, but it's like when he had that when Amir Johnson, he was on his phone or something, like that. And then it's like stay off Twitter, stay off social media. It's like you're not funny, dude. You're not kind and lovable, and just shut the fuck up, And Ben Simmons he's a good player, but I don't know if he's the best horrible player or the worst like good player. Horford will help. So that team.
And they got Tobias Harris, who I think is always like one of the most underrated players in the league.
Yeah, he's solid. He's solid. He's a borderline. He's like Chris Middleton.
Yeah, I was just about to say that's who I always compare him to. Same kind of build, same kind of game.
Yeah. And then Milwaukee, obviously. The Celtics, everyone in this area is down on them. Especially like you listen to WEEI, which I try not to do. People think like the sky is falling in Boston. It's not. It's like, goodbye, Kyrie. You ruined one young athletic.
You want to talk about head cases?
Yeah, go ruin another young, fun team that was the 6th seed. That reminds me of the Celtics before they took the next step up, before Kyrie came to Boston.
What does the word government mean to you?
I don't know what.
Did you hear that? Did you hear about that story?
What did he say?
So apparently Brad Stevens goes to walk in the film room, right? And it's dark in there with the film on, and Kyrie's sitting in there. And Brad Stevens is like, hey, what's up, man? And Kyrie Irving looks at him and goes, what does the word government mean to you? And Brad Stevens says, what? And Kyrie just goes, control, and walks out of the room. What the hell? What does that mean?
Yeah,
he's a weirdo.
Take that act somewhere else. It's like, Kemba Walker you watch like the video tributes that people made of him. There was one really great one that went like viral on Instagram, and it like legit makes you want to cry how much good person he is, how much Charlotte's going to miss him. They have no ill will towards him. It's like,
oh, he's going to get that hero's welcome.
And people are talking like Kyrie's a 10 and Kemba Walker is like an 8.5. I think it's a little closer to that. Kyrie is not a 10. He misses at least 15 games a year. He has wire in his knees at 27 years old. It's like, I don't know.
Okay, so Kyrie, listen, I am anti-Kyrie after all this. You know how much money I spent on his shoes and jerseys during his year and a half there? So I'm anti-Kyrie more than anybody. But when he is cooking and when he's on, there are very few like him in the NBA. So I think Kemba is a step down, but it's not a ridiculous gap. I remember when they did the swap, Isaiah Thomas and Kyrie, and everyone was trying to like debate on who's better.
Oh, people were like, how could they do that to Isaiah? And it's like,
exactly.
It's like,
I think Kemba is in between them, but more on the Kyrie side in terms of talent.
Kemba is an all NBA player that took a shit franchise. If you talk about a bad team, the by far worst team in the NBA is Charlotte. He took that team either to the playoffs or on the brink of the playoffs. They're in the hunt every year, all by himself. That team has no young players. They have nothing. They're
except bad contracts.
No cap room, bad contracts, and it's so that guy's a saint for what he did with that team.
And how great is it that he's number 8?
Yeah, Antoine Walker. Yeah,
Antoine, Kemba, the Walker brothers.
Keep your Walker.
And I'm so mad I gave that away. I had an Antoine Walker jersey.
I mean, I'm sure you can get them all over the place now, but.
Oh no, I'm definitely going to turn my Kyrie Irving jersey into a Enes Kanter jersey as fast as possible.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And Kanter, I mean, he's like 14-10. He's not great defensively, but he's I don't know.
Okay, so the thing I do like about him, like you said, I think he is awful on defense, but he pulls down a lot of offensive rebounds, which with a young athletic team, that's always good to have the second chance opportunities.
Yeah, and Hayward had one of the most gruesome ankle injury you could ever have. He's not going to come back, the year after, like he was in Utah, but if he can be that pretty much 85 to 90% of what he was in Utah and be that kind of Scottie Pippen, Grant Hill type 6'8", put the ball in his hands, playmaker, whether he's coming off the bench or not, I think he can certainly be a 18 or 20 and 6-6 guy, and
that would be huge.
Tatum is gonna. I truly believe he's gonna take a step up, and so will Jaylen Brown. And this team is not walking on eggshells anymore. They're not have to look over their shoulder and see boo boo face bitching or moaning. So
where do you got them in the East? Where do you got the Celtics finishing up this year?
I
would give them a 4 seed.
Yeah, I'd say 3. High side 3. I'd say 4. You got Indiana. They got Brogdon. They got Oladipo healthy back. Oh man, who else was there? You're gonna have Brooklyn there. They'll be.
Oh, they're gonna be good next year. They're definitely gonna be good next year.
They'll be good. I want to say everyone thinks they'll be just like the Celtics because Kyrie's going there. They'll probably be 48 to 52 wins. I'd say somewhere around there. They'll be like lumped in with the Celtics, and then. God, what's left? Who's like Orlando?
Yeah, I know. And the East is pretty weak overall this year.
Detroit's like the most boring.
I like Detroit because they play so old school.
I don't know, man. They got Drummond. They got Blake Griffin. That team should be better, but
they just throw a bunch of bigs in there and they say, "Hey, go at it."
Yeah, Miami has Jimmy Butler. Big deal. They'll be somewhere 7th or 8th, maybe.
Which I thought was a weird move because he seems so competitive and so winning oriented, and he went to a team where he's going to have to be the best player on that team, and I don't think he is the level where he can be the best player on the championship team.
No, he's saying he's like, there's too many mouths to feed in Philly. He wants the ball in his hands. So there's 2 states that don't have taxes, where you don't have to pay taxes, Florida and Texas. So he's not going to go to Houston because that was another rumored place. If he's going to go there, you had all the memes and everything with, oh my God, with him and Paul and Harden. Yeah. But no, he went to kind of took the easy way out, go to Miami, go to South Beach, which gets boring after the first however many times you're there. And yeah, so I don't know. They're irrelevant. Is Goran Dragic still there? Did he get traded to he originally got traded, I think, to Dallas, but then it got rescinded.
I think it got rescinded. So I don't know if they ended up dealing him, if they have him on the team still.
He's still on the team.
We talked basketball for a while, but I still didn't get an answer. Who is going to be the NBA champion in your eyes?
I'm gonna say it's gonna be either the LA teams or Milwaukee. So.
See, I love Milwaukee. They just need I like Middleton a lot, but they need a guy who can just take the ball and score the bucket. But Middleton, you got to be set up.
I'll say, God, man, there's nothing really I like about the Clippers are good. Like, I don't know why everyone's picking the Clippers over the Lakers. I really like what the Lakers did with their bench spots, getting Danny Green. Dude, they got DeMarcus Cousins for nothing.
And this is one thing everyone's forgetting. They still have Kyle Kuzma. So I'm going personally with the Los Angeles Lakers. And as a Celtic fan, that kind of breaks my heart.
All right, I'm gonna go old school back to 1983 or whatever, and I'm gonna say the Sixers and the Lakers. And I don't know. Fuck it. I like the Lakers. I'll say.
All right. So we're going double Lake show on What's Sizzling. So another thing about you that is probably very unknown to everybody else out there, you have probably the best impressions of anyone I ever met in my entire life.
No, not the.
Oh, dude.
I don't know.
Oh, everyone that knows you knows how good you are at impressions. When did you realize?
Certain ones.
When did you figure it out that I could just I could be somebody else in this voice?
I don't know. When I was a kid and I used to do. I don't know. I just used to.
What's your best one? What in your opinion? What's your best one? Because I think, and I don't know how long you've been doing it, but the Jesse the Body on these Beyond trips has been killing me over this past couple months. Those are phenomenal.
Well, let me pose this question to you, Bacon. Why don't you tell me?
Why don't you tell me?
why don't you tell me what my best impersonation is? Well, my agent, my good friend Barry Blaustein out in L.A., he picked the steamer, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, to win the tournament at WrestleMania 4. But I haven't asked him what he thinks my best impersonation is. But while I used to entertain my my comrades on when we'd go off the grid for sniper recon missions down with the Navy SEALs down off the coast of down in Mexico, and then the Guadalajara Bay. I don't know. You've heard the impersonations. Why don't you ask? Why don't you tell me?
Oh, dude, the Jesse the Body to me is just tops. That's the one to me that.
Well, I just love listening.
Because well, not only this is a huge part about impressions that people don't get. The voice got to be there, but the content got to be there, and you can go off as Jesse Ventura for an hour and a half, and it absolutely kills me.
That lip quiver that he does, or like the mouth, the way he enunciates the words.
And dude, I just love how he's so aggressive with everything. Why don't you tell me? Why don't you tell me? Were you there? Were you there?
Yeah, I was. I can't tell you. If I have to, I have no phone. I have no Wi-Fi. I'm completely off the grid. I do that 4 months a year.
So
I invert. I'm still 6'4". Hogan's lost about 4 inches. He's about 6'2". Guess what? I've kept my height. Because I invert. I hang. 8-minute Joe. 8 minutes a night. You hang, and the synovial fluid between the discs.
The best part is if someone skips past my intro and they just get to this part of the podcast, I'm like, well, how the hell did they get Jesse the Body to do this?
Well, I don't know. Marshall does a great Gary Hart one. People like the Kevin Von Erich one that I do from like the World Class documentary. But like, oh, I remember Sportorium, and it used to be filled with popcorn balls standing around, and I remember going to my dad, and he said, "Why don't you kill yourself?" And I was like, Dad, what? All right, that's I don't know. That's
too much.
Yeah. I can't. It's going from like the Jesse Ventura, the deep voice, and then I gotta let me take a drink of water. It's hard to do the Kevin Von Erich one. It's got to be there. I can't think of any others, man. It's
hard to do Kevin Von Erich post Jesse the Body.
Yeah, I don't know. They just got to be there. Like, I don't know.
Dude, that's the thing too. Like, you'll just throw them out of nowhere, and like I said, you become somebody else because the content is always there with everything. So that keeps us going on the road trips. Honestly, for 50%. That and slowing podcasts down 50%. Honestly, if someone's listening to this right now, slow it down. There's a little feature. I know it's on iTunes. I don't know if it's on other podcast channels, but if you look at the left corner, there's the speed. Slow it down to halfway, and we will sound like we are so drunk. And sometimes Tom and I will just be riding, and we'll put on
Bischoff, the
83 weeks is by far the best one to listen to.
Eric Bischoff, the way he slurs, and Conrad Thompson also have great.
Well, you know.
We've done it with the Tony Schiavone one, and then.
Cornette sounds just like he's talking.
Cornette, yes, you can slow Cornette down, and it's like normal.
Someone talking at a normal speed.
It's normal speed.
Just someone just having a nice, calm conversation.
Yeah. Some people like to speed up their podcast because they finish them in like half the time. I can't do that. I can do the half speed for a little bit because it's funny, but it drives me
After a while, yeah. After
Yeah,
a
I don't
while,
want to spend 4 hours listening to a podcast.
And I know I told you the story, but the way I discovered that was one time before I was hopping in the shower, I just went to go throw on a podcast, and I didn't know I didn't know that button existed. So I hit it, and I'm in the shower, and I'm like, yo, Bischoff and Conrad are destroyed right now. I'm like, they are hammered drunk. And then I end up figuring out later that, oh, it's on half speed. But that was like, I'm just in there like wiping under my armpits, and I'm like, what the hell did they have before they started recording this?
Yeah. I haven't tried it with any others, honestly. I'm going to have to.
Oh, dude, we got to get into a deep dive.
Try with different ones.
So we were talking a little bit earlier about, that WWE match, which you always say, and this always cracked me up too. You always say, I could win every match for the rest of my life and I would still have a losing record. But the match I watch, you got to win. You got that dub. So.
On the Raw? On
that Raw.
Yeah, that was, I don't think that was a tag match. It was a non-title match. And then.
And you left Victoria.
We left Victoria at the ring because like Rosie knocked her off.
Which,
and then, yeah.
No, please continue.
We got the win. Who cares? It was a non-title match. So usually on Raw, that means the next week you're going to come back and you're going to get a title match. You're going to get a title match somewhere. So we get to the gorilla position, and, it's not the new gorilla position. It was just like it was like a 10 by 10 foot, 10 by 8 foot area, like a black curtains, and there was the desk, where 3 people would sit. So Vince got up and walks over to us, and he's like, "Oh, why did you leave Victoria by the ring?" And he goes, "Why did you leave her there?" Because we left her there. We totally forgot about her because we won the match, and we're like, "Fuck it." It's like, yeah,
we win.
And I remember it was funny too because John said, he goes, "What about Victoria? We forgot Victoria. She was like." Just left by the ring, and I was like, "Oh, fuck it, we can't go back. Just go." And I'm like, "Oh, fuck." So then we get to the back, and yeah, Vince is like, goes, "What about Victoria? You're supposed to be a group. You just left her there." And I don't know. I'm making this like I'm putting my hand up in the air. If you can visualize it, I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know. And he's like, "What? Why wouldn't you leave her there? That's a heel. Heels would leave a woman at ringside after she's been hurt." And he started laughing. And I was like, I don't know we didn't know if that was like good or bad. And then the next week in Montreal, we had a handicap match for his big show, which actually we took heat on him for like a minute. We clipped his leg. So it was like a 4 or 5 minute match. So it wasn't just like a total squash.
Well, dude, I binge watched those Raw, so I've seen all of these like recently.
Yeah. No, there was that.
Which, how terrible. I mean, obvious, like a lot of wrestlers will sit there and chop each other for a while, and I'll do that once in a while. But personally, I hate chops. I think chops are the worst thing in the world. So I watched you.
I'll chop here or there. Yeah.
Oh my God. The one on you sounded like a shotgun. It was ridiculous.
It was a gunshot. Like John, he gave one to John, he gave one to me, and then he gave one to John. And John had a great sell where he was like, he went down to his knees holding his chest, and he was like walking on his knees. And then mine, I had his handprint. It was such a mark out moment because I was like, we had his handprint on us for like the whole night, and it's weird because it's like
that's Big Show's hand.
So, but yeah, like the first time we worked with him, like him and Kane loved us because we would bump for them and put us over, and like after like a house shows a couple times, he'd take us and other people out to eat and like pay for everything, and it was like he was like super appreciative.
That's awesome.
But there's one other story. It was like October, end of September, early October of 2005. There was a battle royal. It was the main event on Raw, and it was all, it was like
you main evented Raw. That's all. Hey,
main evented Raw.
That's all. Listen, I'm on right now. I'm recording a podcast with a main event.
We got the Visagra as lumberjacks on the main event, and that ended up on Jimmy Kimmel the following Friday. But then so we're on Raw, and
For the listeners that don't know, please explain the Visagra.
oh, he'd stack us like in a 69 position. He'd stack two guys or one guy, and he'd do a spiral ride, like a kind of just like ride you, get his chest on your upper back and like spin around and ride you. Yeah. And
then the devastating part.
And then they'd like hump you in the ass. And it popped like Arn Anderson and some of the other agents, but it especially popped when it was done to us. So because he'd stack us up like a 69, like grab us by the tights, wedgie us, or ass cheeks are hanging out and everything. And so that happened on a main event. It was like John Cena versus Snitsky. We were like lumberjacks, and everybody had a little moment on the outside, and that was ours. But this battle royal, we remembered like our cue. Well, all of a sudden, Edge tore his Achilles, or he tore. No, it wasn't his Achilles. It was something else, his knee. And all of a sudden, he's gone, and everyone's like calling an audible, and we're like, oh, what the fuck? Before you know it, John and I look at each other, and it's like, dude, this is not the order that so-and-so's still in here and Eugene's still in there and fucking, Edge is gone and whatnot. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, it's like, we're like, well, all right, we'll just wait for our cue. We're going to attack Kane or something. And Chris Matt, after Shelton gets eliminated, we attack Kane or something. So before you know it, dude, it's fucking, we're like in the final four with Kane, Kane and Chris Masters. And we're like, what the fuck? It's like, this is our cue. We get Kane and whatever. And then he like chokeslam us or clothesline us out. So we're like going to the back on the side. And we're like, what the fuck happened? And we're like, John's like, I don't know, but that was pretty cool. We're in the final four. So we walk back, and you don't go into Gorilla. You just go off to the side and like the hallway. And Dean Malenko was the agent of the match. And he's like walking by us with the paper, like, rolled up in his hand, the script or whatever. And
That's exactly how he walked around at Double or Nothing, by the way. Same exact thing.
Yeah. And he just looks at us, and he's like, he like puts his hand to his head and starts shaking it. And he's like, like he's fucking, he was like, forget about it. Like he's pissed at us. It's like, dude, what did we do? It's like,
we didn't tear his knee.
What? It was like, I was like,
if anything, you guys got a hot tag team now, brother. Run with it.
Yeah, it was like always. I got a shitload of stories like that where it's just like.
And I always said that about you because you're not one, like, you're not going to brag about stuff and you're not going to bring stuff up. Oh. And I feel like you always, anytime, to this day, I hear stories from you that I never heard. And my first, like, 5, 6, 7 years of wrestling, I was with you almost every day. And I still am learning. Like, I'd never heard that one before. That's hilarious.
No, I don't, like, right then at that time, like, we're doing a lot of stuff like with Kane and Big Show and like putting them over. And we were like the young stallions. And I was like, great, fucking perfect. Like we were getting like finally getting it. And it was like, all right, we were what we were. And I was like, great, give me that. Give me that for like 5 years or whatever. I don't need to win matches or it's great. Fine. I can wrestle for a living and I'm here and awesome, and obviously you want more. You want to be like my thing was always the Intercontinental Championship because it was always like the workers' belt, and I thought it was always the best looking belt, but whatever, you know what I mean? So I got there's like a whole bunch of stories like that.
I the one thing I do know that you have talked to me about was like that house show loop with Regal and Tajiri, who like I love both wrestlers, so like stuff like that, man. And you pass that on to me, like everything you learned from them. So I feel like I got to be in the ring with them a little bit. So that always helped me out a lot. Now, when you left WWE, you did an interview, and that interview was read by like a 15, 14-year-old me. And that's how I found out that there was wrestling, because I'm from the Springfield area, and everything I've ever seen online was only for Chaotix Wrestling School. It's the only thing that had any type of presence when you would punch wrestling school in Google. So I was like, when you're 15, 16 years old or whatever it was, you can't get out there. You know what I mean? So when I seen there was wrestling in the Springfield area, I was like, oh shoot, I got to contact this website and get a hold of this guy. And super cool. The guy got me in contact with you. You told me to meet you at a wrestling show. I was like 15 years old.
Really?
And no, it was Kevin. Kevin got me to meet him at the wrestling school. You referred me to Kevin. And then I was training in the ring one day, and in walks Antonio Thomas, and he was not very happy with me.
No, I walked into when it was in Palmer, and I was like, you walk down that long hallway, and there's big like barn doors that you open up, and I was like, it was like Kevin and I were both like sharing the ring at that time, so I walk in and I look, and I'd never seen you guys before, and I was like, who the fuck are you? What are you doing here? You and Mike Hayes were like rolling around in the ring. I was like, what the fuck? It's like Kevin just fucking lets anybody in here. And I was like, and this was like right after I'd come back from Japan for the first time. So I'm like in super like God, like you go to
Young
Japan
boy
for the first
mode.
time and you come back. No, you're like, you go to Japan and you come back and it's like, oh, fucking Americans are so lazy. And it's like, fucking anyone can wrestle here. It's so much more sacred over there and private and kayfabe. It's like, I was like, and then I couldn't be long for mad because you guys were super nice and, you know.
So mind you, I am doing the heartthrob handshake with my little cousin, and this asshole walks into the building's like, who the fuck are you? And I'm like, oh no, like.
No, it was so unlike me, but it was just one of those moments where
and like knowing you now, I'm surprised you even did that because you are so like. Especially like first meeting you, like, because I always say this about you too. You always will give constructive criticism. You'll tell someone if something's wrong, but you're gonna go about it in the nicest way possible.
Yeah. Weird.
Not that day.
No, not that day.
But you end up becoming my sole trainer and training me solely when we end up having ring sport for a little bit. Now, What made you want to become a trainer after your time in WWE?
Just, I don't know. I always felt I was never good enough to train people or pass along information. But then I was like, I don't know, 2008, 2009. I never stopped learning. Even today, you never ever stop learning. And I was just like, well, I'd be, it wouldn't be wise or smart. It'd be selfish to not pass along some of the things I learned and some of the things that I'm currently learning. And you can bitch about it or you can do something about it. So I decided, well, let me do something about it. And, so I said, that's when I said I want to help and just do what I can to help people out and help anybody out. And it's still that way, Yeah.
And you always been more than helpful. Especially with me, like when I first started, it was hard because I am not 6'4", shocker. So you definitely helped me get on like a bunch of different wrestling shows and try to branch out as much as possible and try to get the best matches as possible.
Well, yeah, no, because you, Sean, a couple others. I mean, you guys worked hard. You took it seriously, and you're not gonna have everybody like that. But those are the people that I gravitated towards, and well, I shouldn't say gravitate towards, but towards helping. In wrestling and. I mean, we roll around all the time. And then, that's when I said, you need to get in there with guys like Cody Rhodes or other people, and you need to see their perspectives. And you can only learn so much from me, or you can only learn so much from one person. You need to go out there and learn different perspectives and styles and work with different people. And that's what you did. And, you've grown immensely since, you started off with Northeast and main eventing and working with all the names and great workers that they bring in.
Yes. Thank you so much for that too, by the way. Like I said, you training me, that means a lot coming from you. But we're talking about great opponents, and I don't even know if you remember this, but do you remember the greatest match that nobody has ever seen? It was you versus the Broom before an EWA show. Do you remember this?
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
This is when I found out.
Agawam.
In Agawam, yeah. This is when I found out how intense you are about your love for professional wrestling. So I'm going to tell the story. We're all watching in the ring. We're kind of setting up chairs, the newer guys were, and you're in the ring with a Broom. and for some reason you just start working around with the broom, and everyone stops setting stuff up, and everyone's just watching this match because it is honestly one of the greatest matches I've ever seen in my life because it is believable. Everything you're doing looked like good, and it was such a good match. You put the broom over by the 3 count. Everyone that was setting stuff up is now sitting in the chairs, and we all count 1, 2, 3. Everyone pops big when you put the broom over. I walk up to you and I said, Tom, that was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. That was hilarious. And you go, I wish it was a mop. It would have sold better. And I was
well,
like,
it has the hair. It has.
And that's exactly what you said. Then you're like, it has the hair to sell with, and I was like, this man is such a perfectionist when it comes to pro wrestling. I got to get there one day.
No, everyone always says, oh, he could have a match with a broomstick or whatever. So I don't know. I was just like fucking around. Fuck it. Let's have a match with a broomstick.
And it turned into like a 15-minute classic. I
don't know if it was 15 minutes, but it was, I just remember I just kept going and figured, when it's time to go home now. And, but it's like in OVW, like when Lance Storm wasn't there. And then like when Bill DeMott wasn't there, sometimes like Johnny Jeter or Joey Matthews would run practice, and Joey used to have us do things where we would wrestle air, and we would wrestle like the Invisible Man before Joey Janela made it popular. So we would do stuff like that, and that kind of turned. If you can do that, then you could really work with anybody. Sometimes it's easier to work with a broom or air than some people that are, like crowbars or rigid, So
as we're wrapping up here, I got to ask one question because, like I said, we know each other very well. We know each other for a long time, but I haven't got down to the bare bones of this. When did you come up with the Ovaltine dream, and like when did you think like, okay, I can do something with this?
Well, I always knew I could do something with the character once I kind of stumbled upon it. I was just getting it in the right platform for people to see it, because I was just doing shows here and there, but they weren't getting any indie buzz or anything like that, any social media presence. And honestly, that's what matters. Like for someone like, someone newer, you need to do as many shows as you can do. Someone like myself that's, like you're never a finished product, but it's like, I got 18, 19 years of experience behind me. Now is the time where I need to create a buzz and get something going. So,
you said you were doing you're saying you're doing the smaller shows. You're about to say Drew Cadero. Like, how did you get that relationship with Beyond?
Well, yeah, I'd always talked to Drew here or there before about coming in, and then he had told me back like in January, I'm going to have something in Wednesdays coming up, during the year. Get back in touch with me then. So, I still, when I was at the Performance Center for a week,
which they brought you in as a guest trainer, if people don't know. And I think they brought you in because they're like, you trained Brad Hall, so you definitely got to be here. That's probably the reason, right?
Yes. Mark Henry referenced me to them, but no, I got to know Stokely real well. And Stokely had asked me about, do you contact places? Are you in touch with play? And I go, dude, I email everywhere. I send matches. I have no ego. I'm just looking to get noticed somewhere. And we got to talking to Beyond. And then later he's like, a couple weeks later, he's like, why don't you email Drew? I just spoke with him. So I emailed him, and that's when Drew brought me in. And, I came in as a heel, and you could tell during the first match, a couple minutes in, that the fans were kind of swaying towards me. And then I cut a promo about Ovaltine, how I don't drink alcohol. I would never contaminate my body with that. I drink Ovaltine, and then blew up. And then Rich Palladino came up with the Ovaltine dream. So the credit all to him. I got Ovaltine Dream shirts now, and I gave him the first one. I had to. So
that's awesome.
So that's kind of how it's come up, and everything else is just kind of grown off there.
So now, like we said, we have American Rana. This will probably drop a little bit after American Rana, but you got that coming up. What else you have coming up?
Well, we got the Beyond stuff. beyond uncharted territory that goes through July. Then I got Test of Strength Wrestling August 3rd in where is it? Naugatuck, Connecticut. At I think Tazrax bar. You can go to at TOS Wrestling, on Twitter, Instagram, and find that out. I got Outlaw Wrestling coming up in Brooklyn, New York on September 12th. And then that's what's coming up in the next month. After that, I got some stuff 01 Northeast and Beyond. Beyond on September 22nd at the Beach Club there. And
that's awesome, by the way.
Yeah. So got some good stuff coming up, but I got, want to get it filled up with
hanging and banging tens.
I got that Bola weekend is wide
It's
open.
wide open. You heard it here first. We're looking for Bola. Flip. We talked with Flip last week. We found out Flip is out. Out. Yeah? So there might be a spot open in there now if you're listening.
Yeah, I've had Flip on my show before, so maybe Flip can if he's looking for a replacement, I'll shoot him a text. So
all right, man. Well, it was awesome to catch up with you, talk with you a little bit. I know that we're probably going to be on the road together within a week anyways, but
yes, yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on, man. It means a lot to me. Absolutely,
man. Thank you, and good luck with this new venture, adding another dimension to the Bacon Empire.
That's a shirt now. Thank you.
Bacon Empire. Yeah.
Bacon Empire. All right, man. I'll catch up with you soon.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, take it easy.
Bye.
The bacon.
I'm going to smoke this bacon today.
All right, well, that was our interview with Thomas Santell. I want to thank Tom for coming on by and having a nice little conversation. Really fun catching up with him. Like I said, I learned a lot from him. He started me in wrestling and taught me legitimately everything I knew to start off. And, of course, down the road I learned more tricks, but it all started with his base and everything, all the tools he gave me to be the wrestler I am today. So I want to thank Tom for coming on to the show, being my second guest. Next week we have Pro Wrestling Savior, JT Dunn. Be sure to follow the @WhatSizzling podcast every single where you can. On Twitter, we're @WhatSizzling. On Instagram, we're the @WhatSizzling podcast, and you can find us on Facebook, either my personal Facebook page, Brad Hollister, or the Big Bacon Brad page, which we're going to have all the updates for the What Sizzling podcast. And now we're going to toss it over to myself and Flip Gordon for the first ever edition of Flippin' Bacon. All right, episode 2 of What's Sizzling in the books, in the can. We made it happen. And now, this is the first edition of Flippin' That Bacon. Flippin' Bacon, episode 1. We got Flip in studio.
Oh, man, I am so excited.
Yeah, and this is sick because I told Flip, not only was he the first guest of the podcast, first in-studio guest as well. So, Flip, welcome to Casa de Bacon.
Thank you, man. Like I said, man, if we're going to do these weekly segments, I wanted to be here in person. I am dedicated. You asked me if I was dedicated. I just proved it. I showed up.
He did show up, so I'm kind of eating my words here, and hopefully I won't be eating my words in a little bit, because what we're going to do here on Flippin' Bacon, Flip and I are going to find topics that him and I both disagree on, and we're going to just try to really break down and maybe even convince the other one that we are correct in this and they should join our side.
I'm going to try my best to flip your mind. That's how we kind of came up with this whole gimmick, Flip and Bacon.
So he's going to try to flip me on these topics, and I'm going to try to show him why he's wrong and I'm always right, because that's just how I go about life.
Hey, man, I'm open-minded. I'm excited to hear your opinions, you know?
And this first one upsets me. I know we were asking on Instagram, we're asking on Facebook, we're asking all these different topics.
And we want to know more topics that you want us to discuss. Maybe we disagree. Maybe we disagree with you. Maybe we'll talk about that even.
Maybe we'll jump into that a little bit. But this first one purely upsets me in my heart. So this one is what, Flip?
It's milk first or cereal first when you eat cereal.
So you're saying when we eat breakfast in the morning, you like pouring the milk first before the cereal, which is absolutely disgusting. And I, a normal human being, likes putting cereal first. So the format of this show is going to be this. We have 30 seconds to talk about why we believe we are the right one and why our way is correct. And then after that, we're going to dive into a little debate and see where we go from there.
See if we can flip each other.
So, Flip, I'm going to let you start. You're the guest today. You're in my house. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to tell me why the milk should be poured first.
All right, Bacon. Have you ever grabbed cereal in a bowl and then poured your cereal in? Then you go open the fridge, you go to grab the milk. Oh, crap, man. You forgot to buy more milk. That wouldn't have happened if you poured the milk first. You know what I mean? Also, when you pour the milk first, your cereal's not going to get soggy. I don't like soggy cereal. You know what I mean? Also, how do you start your second bowl? With milk first. Why would you start the first one any different, dude?
And that is your time. Right on the nose, Flipper. So, I'm going to get into why I believe the cereal should be first. Because this is America, damn it, Flip. And in America, we put the cereal first. No. But in all seriousness, let's really dive into this. Because ever since I was a little kid, I always put my cereal first, and that's just the way it's always been. And second of all, when they make those little packets, those individual packets for those like early morning breakfast, there's no milk packet, and then you pour the cereal in. No. It's the cereal packet, and then you get a little carton of milk that's adorable, and you pour that in. That's why I believe that the cereal... Oh, look at that. So, you had some topics, I had some topics. We each made our quick little point. Now, what do you think? Now, me personally, you say milk soggy. Now, this is one that I didn't want to dive into and take up my 30 seconds with. But how slow do you eat cereal? My cereal does not last very long in that bowl. It will not get soggy if there's milk in there.
Hey, man, I get distracted. Sometimes I'm reading the newspaper. Or
what are you, 60?
I don't read newspapers. I'll be on my phone, when I'm eating. And it's sometimes I get distracted or I'm reading something,
The only logical thing you said in that 30 seconds of hot garbage was that the second bowl. The second bowl, technically, yes. The second bowl of cereal would start with milk because the milk is already in the bowl. It's not like I'm going to pour another bowl, then take that milk and pour it into it. Because now I'm just making extra dishes.
But what if you have no milk? Then now you just dirtied a dish for no reason.
No, but I didn't dirty a dish.
Yes, because now you got to pour the cereal back in the box.
You do not have to pour the cereal back.
Milk.
You never had finger cereal?
Milk.
You never just picked at your cereal and ate it like a farm animal?
No.
You never had marshmallow Lucky Charms outside of milk. You never had one on its own.
Maybe Fruit Loops.
Not a marshmallow?
No.
Dude, they're the marshmallows.
All right, so what cereals do you like, man?
Okay, so
it's a little off topic.
It's off topic, but I'm going Lucky Charms, going Frosted Flakes,
Lucky Charms,
and Frosted Mini Wheats.
I don't like Mini Wheats.
Dude, Mini Wheats. So one time I went to, real quick, even more off topic, I went to a football camp one time when I was a little kid, and the guy that was like my little partner that weekend was jacked, and he goes, "Yeah, dude, if you eat Mini Wheats, you get jacked." So I've been eating Mini Wheats ever since.
There you go. What about Trix? Captain Crunch?
Well, no, but see, okay. So all the cereal you're describing is crunchy cereal, right? Not a lot of marshmallows, not a lot of give. So you want this dry, crunchy cereal to just be cutting up your gums as opposed to being a genius and letting it get that perfect level of crunchy, but it's soaking up the milk. So when you take that bite, it's like you're eating and drinking at the same time. It's a beautiful thing.
But I also like to take my cereal into a different room. So it's easier to just pour the milk, grab a spoon, put the spoon in there, grab the cereal. Now I carry the bowl and the cereal into the other room. I sit down, I turn on the TV, and I start eating cereal. I don't have to worry about bringing the milk.
Sir.
I put the milk right back in the fridge.
Yeah, but listen, you're acting like you have this huge jug of milk. Why not just get smaller milk if that's the issue? You get a nice little personal.
I drink a lot of milk, bro.
You get a nice little personal chocolate milk.
You
You get a nice little personal chocolate milk. This is a nice little trick.
I don't
nice
like chocolate milk.
Oh Jesus Christ! This is
I'm
a whole
really
other
picky eater.
debate.
You'll find that out. I'm super picky.
Yeah, so am I. I think vegetables are made by the devil, but it does not mean I do not like chocolate milk.
Do you
That
like
is
broccoli.
Oh, get out of here, dude.
All right, that's gonna have to be another topic.
All right,
We're
so
gonna have lots of topics.
it looks like we're not making each other budge on this one. So the first.
So you're not gonna flip on this?
No, absolutely not. This is
You have to try it.
near criminal. No. Like I said, the second bowl technically I do try it.
So
why would you start
the first bowl any different than the second bowl and the third
Because
bowl and the fourth bowl and the fifth bowl?
Listen. Because when you have milk in a bowl, right? If you fill the milk near the top, you're barely adding any cereal because that's just going to overflow.
No, you do about halfway, man.
But still, it's just going to overflow. Instead of if you put the cereal in first and you let the milk cascade up the cereal, it drops from the bottom.
Years.
I've been on it for 26.
You should know how much
I've been on it for 26.
You should know how much milk you need.
I do know how much milk I need. Because I put a fair amount of cereal. Okay, this is why.
You do the
I know.
cereal first.
No, if I'm putting the same amount of cereal in every time.
I just like it to float, man. And then you just dunk it under, then you eat it.
No, dude, I want that shit to drown. All right, so like I said, first episode doesn't seem like we're making each other budge, but we got more topics. No, not at all. It's never gonna with milk first. That's offensive.
All right, well, let us know if we convinced you to be milk first or cereal first.
Yes, please let us know on the Twitter at @WhatSizzling and the Instagram at @WhatSizzling Podcast.
That's all, folks.